Radio Rahim with the well-tanned Eddie Hearn. It must be nice to be able to get a tan in the winter months.
Well, it's when you're traveling non-stop. You have a little hour in Oaxaca in the sun, a little 25 minutes today on the balcony. Very nice. You've got to get your vitamin D in, Rahim, you know? Well, it's very important.
Yeah, well, I don't really need it. You know, I bring my own vitamin D.
Yeah, I know, but everybody needs a bit of vitamin D. So, no, nice to be out here. Great weather. Great place.
And you've
I think that, you've been here before. Mm-hmm. People often say to me, what's Saudi like? And I go, really, really nice. Oh, how do you mean? I said, well, the food's great, the restaurants are great, the weather's great, the entertainment's great. I don't know what else you actually need, but we love coming here, not just because there's huge events, but it's just a great feeling.
We're just stood here in the public and people came around with drinks and sandwiches for free. I don't even, you know what I mean? Like that is we
are actually at the Riyadh Season World Masters of Snooker, which is taking place just behind you. So you're a little
snooker sandwiches.
Yeah, you're a little bit sort of VIP enrolled. You know, they're not just randomly going out to everybody.
Oh, I thought this was happening.
No, just anyone that wants to come to Saudi Arabia. It is an amazing place, but they do not just give out free sandwiches and drinks on the street.
You've got to come to the World Snooker competition. I've found my right place. The point of it is that not only are you on the move around the world, now you've got snooker here in Saudi. It's a beautiful season, to be fair. I thought it would be much warmer. And it's about to heat up this week. Is a really intense look at the boxing world as this crossover becomes legitimate, right? We've had all of our YouTubers and the criticism around that, but this fight doesn't seem to be getting that kind of criticism. No. We're taking this as a serious contender heavyweight championship fight. What is the difference with an Ngannou and all the YouTubers we've seen before? How does this crossover measure up differently?
It's all the credibility of the Tyson Fury fight. You know, I was one of the biggest criticisers of that fight because I just thought there's no way that Francis Ngannou can come in the boxing world and beat Tyson Fury. I actually thought he won the fight, but it was very close. Like, whatever way, he dropped him. You know, he had him hurt. And I couldn't believe what I was watching. And this is probably the first crossover fight, if you would like, from boxing to MMA, where people are giving the MMA fighter a big chance in the fight. AJ's still the favourite. He's still much better all round. But Ngannou doesn't give a fuck. Like, he is mentally so strong and so prepared for this fight. But I still believe the levels of AJ will come out. But, you know, there's a lot of pressure. One, because you don't want to lose to this guy for everything that AJ's achieved. But number two, we've been promised that if we win this fight, we get the undisputed fight. And obviously now with the delay, with a cut, we may end up fighting Hrgovic in the middle. But that's one of the reasons that we took this fight, is to make sure that we could actually get our hands on that fight, which is something that's eluded us for a long time.
AJ was celebrated after his last win here. He said he was back. It seemed like maybe the best performance we've seen from him in a long time. People giving Ngannou such a shot to win. Is that a bit of a stone in AJ's shoe, a bit of a disrespect?
No, it's just because it's the heavyweight division. And when you've got a guy that can punch, that lets their hands go, and he's competent, like we've seen, you've always got a chance. People were saying, Rahim, that Wallin was going to beat AJ. It was a total mismatch. Let's be honest. Like, he didn't win a second of a round. Look, it's another look.
Well, I don't even know what is this?
I'll tell you what. Let's taste it and find out.
All right. Honestly, Eddie, I think these are free for everyone. Out. Yeah, I'll have to try this later, but it looks delicious. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, so people were saying that Wallin was going to beat AJ, and it ended up being a mismatch. So I'm hoping it's going to be the same on Friday. On paper, AJ should win this fight, but the amount of people that are going to me, he's big and he's strong and this Ngannou, he's a very dangerous fight.
People have gotten pretty comfortable picking against AJ. Yeah. And if we're to look down the road and he is successful on Saturday night, you say undisputed is potentially next. Maybe I'm a little confused. I thought that there was a mandatory rematch for Usyk Fury. Is like, who's in charge here? Is it up to
one person in charge, and that's His Excellency? You know, so of course contracts will be honoured, but at the same time, don't forget this was when the fight was going to take place in February. Now there is a delay to that plan. But ultimately, if AJ knocks out Ngannou and Fury beats Usyk, you have the opportunity to make the biggest fight in boxing. Actually, one of the biggest fights in the history of the sport. And you know the passion that His Excellency has for boxing and delivering for fight fans. And he's going to look at that and go, and they're going to say, yeah, but there's a rematch. And he's going to go, look, can we just have a conversation with everyone? We must make this fight now. Maybe the loser waits and then fights the winner of that one or whatever. But it's not something that normally he's prepared to wait for. Do you know what I mean? It's just something that might present itself, and I would have confidence in them trying to make it happen.
And I think this is the first time we've had in boxing like one man who is able to maneuver through all promoters, all networks, and just have his way. The fans will have their criticism about His Excellency, His Excellency, His Excellency. But in the real world, I mean, he's putting on excellent fights. Is this kind of our first, if not monopoly, guy in charge of boxing?
No, because not everyone's at the table yet. Do you know what I mean? So when you talk about a monopoly, it would take PBC to get involved, Golden Boy to get involved, Top Rank to do more. Do you know what I mean? So, but fans should, I mean, when you talk about fans criticising His Excellency, fans should really be praising him to the point of all he's doing is wanting to make the best fights for boxing. And we've seen 4 or 5 fights happen very quickly that we just would not have seen in a normal world. So I don't think that this is what's happening here is boxing forever. It's just another market making a significant investment in the sport, more significant than we've ever seen. So for me, being a part of that, and I would never thought that I would have to say that he is the most powerful man in boxing, because that's always been me, isn't it, really? But on a serious note, like, he is, because he has the ability and the funds to make these fights at the drop of a hat. And that is that's the big difference. And also, when you're sitting in the middle as almost like a middleman with other promotional companies, normally the promoters are the ones that argue and don't get fights made for many different reasons. But he sits there and deals with you, gets your deal done. Then he sits with the other promoter, gets that deal done. He also sorts out the TV situation in the middle. So really, all we're doing is we're saying, look, because the TV situation is often the thing that stops fights from happening. So what we will say in that situation is, well, listen, I'm happy with the deal. If you can get the other fighter signed and you can sort out the TV situation, we're in. And he goes and delivers that,
Now, to your point, Golden Boy is still out of this market. PBC is still out of this market. But you've had conversations, we've all seen now, with Tank. We've heard Golden Boy, through Oscar De La Hoya, have this comment that all boxing shouldn't be in Saudi Arabia. And Tank asking for 2 Lamborghinis or Ferraris, I think it was. Have they talked themselves out of this market?
No, I think His Excellency wants to work with all promotional companies. I'm sure that includes the PBC, that includes Golden Boy. People often say things they shouldn't. I do it most days. But business is business, and Golden Boy have a great roster. PBC have an incredible roster. But we also have our markets that matter as well. Like, there is an element of we need to maintain a great schedule in the UK. One of the reasons we decided to do Taylor Catterall with the Zone on non-pay-per-view to make that part of the schedule, because we need to bring big British blockbuster fights to the UK still. And Golden Boy and PBC and us need to bring big fights to the US still. We can't just keep bringing fights over here, but we must keep providing the right opportunities for our fighters. So I'm sure those other promotional companies, it's not that they're not invited, I don't know. But just because the fights haven't worked out yet, or they haven't got the certain talent that His Excellency might want for certain fights, etc. But I'm sure everybody's going to be involved in this movement.
We know that Terence Crawford is, in the market again, maybe fighting in Omaha. He's not represented by a promotion company. He's one of the biggest names in boxing, hasn't fought since one of the biggest fights in boxing. Have you had any conversation with maybe bringing him to the kingdom in this coming year?
Not yet, no. I mean, I think right now the focus is on the heavyweight big attractions. And obviously they got Bivol Beterbiev done. But, I think His Excellency is a fan of big fights. And if there's a big fight out there that he likes, I'm sure he'll make it happen. But for me, if I'm Terence Crawford, I should be having a defence ASAP. The problem is, a lot of fighters aren't prepared to fight for the market value for that specific fight. You see, this is his 4th fight in 11 months. It's been the best thing he's ever done, right? But when he boxed Franklin and when he boxed Hellenius, both on non-pay-per-view, he made quite small money for Anthony Joshua. But it was like, look, I need to fight. I need to keep improving. I need to stay active. And look what it led him to. So if I'm Terence Crawford right now, I'm fighting in Omaha. I'm getting as much money as I can from a broadcaster. I'm doing the biggest gate that I can do. And I'm fighting. But I don't think he wants to fight for what he might perceive as small money. Do you know what I mean? If he owns the show, he gets to see all of the money that's generated. And he can have it all. Right? But it's still not enough to him. And that's why Wilder didn't fight in whatever it was, 18 months, or boxed 20 seconds of a round. And then he gets in the ring with Joseph Parker and he's all over the place. So there's a lot to be said about staying active, but fighters sometimes aren't prepared to just take good money for a fight. No, I'm not fighting for that kind of money. You know.
And here they're offered great money for great matchups.
Yeah, but when they don't exist, you can't just wait for them. Yeah. So right now, Terence Crawford, not speaking out of turn, he's not going to fight in Saudi Arabia. I mean, even at the earliest, till, I don't know, November, December. But even if that is even possible. So what are you waiting for? You're just waiting for the phone to ring. He's, 36, 37? He's boxing once a year, continuously. I don't know. But I also understand him go, well, I'm not getting in the gym. But then do you really even want to fight? I don't know. You've got to stay active, these guys. And they've really got to be boxing twice minimum. Like, he hasn't boxed since, when was the Spence fight? June, July? July. Well, it's March now. And before you know it, it'll be April, May. He's got no fight schedule. So he's going to be out of the ring again for another year. And at that stage in his career, there's no point in being inactive like that.
Lastly, on this point, like you say, Josh was able to take smaller fights for smaller money so he can stay busy, and he's happy with that. But he knows that these huge fights are looming, these huge checks are looming. Yeah. But does that mean that we don't see an Anthony Joshua in England anymore? We don't see these super fights in England or potentially even America. Is all the big money and all the big fights now in Saudi, period?
He boxed twice at the O2 last year, but it just so happens that the biggest fights are happening out here. And that means that you've got the opportunity to make them happen in the kingdom. So when I look at AJ's career, I would say he has, not speaking out of turn, between 4 and 6 or 7 fights left. And all he wants to do now is he wants to beat Ngannou. He wants to beat Tyson Fury. May even try and avenge the Usyk fight. Maybe fight Deontay. I don't know. So, but a lot of those fights, if they can happen here, sure they will. If not, he can fill the stadium in the UK. Or he can box in America. So, but right now the focus is just beat Ngannou and try and get your hands on that undisputed fight.
We've seen in the last 24 hours that Dillian Whyte has been cleared of this, drug test failure. We know the Conor Benn situation to, an exhaustion. Does this raise questions as to how we should deal with an adverse finding? If, that used to be an anomaly. Like, you would assume a guy was guilty because they never get overturned. But now this seems to be something that we have to question.
I think there's a lot of talk lately about what goes into foods in general. And the reality is that you can ruin someone's career by them making an innocent mistake. Not even a mistake, really. It's not even, so I wasn't across the Dillian Whyte situation. I haven't spoken to him since the August of last year. And now he's got an opportunity to get back into this mix. But contamination is real. It's not something that people just make up for an excuse. Conor Benn got cleared through contamination by the WBC. Dillian Whyte got cleared by contamination from the Texas Commission. I don't know what the board stance is on that, but still, like, it is... We really should give people the opportunity to go through that process. And when they do get cleared, people never believe him. Like, Dillian Whyte's going to get criticised now for the rest of his career. Just like Conor Benn, even though they've both been cleared. So it is what it is, but you've just got to get on with it. And I don't know the answer. You could say, an athlete needs to be more careful about, but at the same time, if something's in something that he's ingesting that is not on the ban list, then, where do you draw the line?
He's missed out on 2023 heavyweight boxing in Saudi, obviously this card. But the AJ fight, which is huge for England, it was a big opportunity for Dillian that apparently he was unjustly denied. Is that potentially now something that is still in the works for him?
If we beat Ngannou, then we just want the undisputed fight. he may fight Hrgovic for the world title in the middle. But that's really the only fights that we're looking at. But who knows down the line? You know, if AJ can win undisputed or win another world title defence against Dillian Whyte, who knows? But for Dillian, he'll want to get straight back in the mix, you know, see if he can get himself out here.
And before I let you go, we got to have this Canelo talk. Every day it seems to be something different. Where do you see Canelo's negotiation for May 4th, which is fast approaching? Where are we at right now today?
Well, it's very fast approaching. I mean, it is 8 weeks away on Saturday. You know, you hear all these reports like he's left the PBC, he's in the middle of a 3-fight deal. We didn't get anything official from that. I have had conversations with him. Obviously, Jaime Munguia is a Golden Boy fighter who are exclusive to DAZN. But Canelo's going to do what Canelo does, which is try and go wherever he can get the most money. But it's something he probably needs to decide in the next few days because the fight is drawing in. So if it's us, it would be an honour. And if it's not, wish him all the best. But, you know, I think Canelo against Mongia is definitely a fight we'd like to bring to DAZN and for Golden Boy as well, who, as I said, have an exclusive deal with DAZN. And DAZN have invested a huge amount of money in Jaime Munguia. So I'm sure they'll be very keen to have it on their platform.
It seems like Mongia and Berlanga are said in the same breath. Basically, if it's Mongia in May, then it'll be Berlanga in September, vice versa.
If it's with us, potentially, yeah. But, you know, he also wants to rematch Bivol. You've got the Benavidez fight. Who knows what's going to happen? But the focus right now for Sal and Eddie Reynoso, I'm sure, is on May. And that's coming around fast.
How big is it, this 5-for-5 matchup with Frank Warren? I mean, that's really for all the bragging rights, isn't it?
It's so big that they don't even want to really announce it this week because there'll be so much focus on it on Joshua Ngannou week. So we're looking to actually announce the weight classes potentially on Saturday after the fight. But we're working round the clock with George and Frank on the format and the fights. And we've got meetings all week with His Excellency to approve those. So it's going to be a fun format. And yeah, you are right. Desperate to win. Well,
Americans will appreciate this. Like before the All-Star break in baseball, you see all these big trades because they know it's the final run.
Sure. We might have to bring a few ringers in. We'll see.
What are the rules there?
No, I think, you know, because the thing is the weights are selected first and then the fighters after. And when the press conference happens, no one will know who the fighters are. You'll just pick your best pick. Right?
Each weight class and then figure out
so
which
say
weight
that we say heavyweight.
Yeah.
When we go to that press conference, we'll announce the fighters, but we won't know who they are. It's just your best pick.
So you pick your best fighter in each weight class?
Yes. Yeah, no. So we announce 2 weight divisions. He announces 2 weight divisions, Frank.
Okay.
His Excellency announces 1 weight division.
Okay.
You have to pick your best fighter from that division. All right? So if Frank goes, I don't know, featherweight.
Yeah.
I go, okay, so I go away. I talk to Ray Ford, who just won a world title, Josh Warrington, you know, any other featherweights that I've got in the world. And he chooses his best featherweight, probably Nick Ball if he beats Ray Vargas. If I choose Ray Ford, you could have Nick Ball against Ray Ford in the unification. Do you know what I mean? So, but that's the beauty of it, is you got all the you'll know the weight classes. Then you got the big debate that ensues. Who's it going to be? And then it's the draft. It's the live draft, the live picks.
I think whoever wins that will never stop talking about having won it. Lastly, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, wild build-up. You're not necessarily representing Haney, but you are presenting Haney in a...
Yeah, no, we got a 1 fight option on him here, which we decided to work together on. Bill is leading the promotion from Devin's side, Devin Haney Promotions, in association with Matchroom, whatever you want to call it. We're there to support him, and DAZN want us involved as well to help push the show. Hopefully it happens. You know, there's a lot of talk about Ryan, and you know, he's obviously not himself, but it's a big fight. Hopefully he can get into camp, and you know, I believe Devin will come through victorious.
Haney, Tank Davis, super fight, right? That's the kind of thing that could happen here in Saudi.
I don't know. It's a big American fight. You know, when there's a fight that generates a lot of money in America, you can make more money in that fight than you can to bring the fight here. So if you look at Tank against Ryan Garcia, they both did extremely well, probably better than they would have done if the fight was in Saudi. So I think Devin beats Ryan. He'll be, you know, him against Tank is a huge fight. And I think that lands in America, that fight. But we'll have to see. Obviously, first thing, he's got to get in the ring with Ryan and come through there.
I mean, in the sense that getting it made is so difficult, right?
Yeah, that's a hard fight to make. Yeah.
And so this is the kind of place where hard fights are made.
No, I think it's just hard making a fight with Gervonta Davis. Doesn't matter where it is. Really hard.
Why do you think that is?
He's not interested in listening. He's got people in his ear that will convince him to do things. And he should open up his mind and he should have conversations about his career. But listen, he's his own man. Good luck to him.
A lot of people line up his money-making history against Devin's. He makes so much money while not fighting world title fights. He's still making more than everybody on his class. Do you find the way he's guiding his career to be correct, or would you do that differently?
He's making money and that's what he wants to do. Does he want to win world titles? He's also won world titles. But I think there's some great fights to be made. You talk about Devin, Ryan, Gervonta Davis, Teofimo Lopez, Subriel Matias. Our guy at 140 is a beast. We've got some great 140s all around. Richardson Hitchens in a big fight coming up. There's some great fights to be made against some very good young fighters. Hopefully we can just continue to get everyone in the ring.
We'll continue to get everybody in the ring come this Friday. A super huge card, one of the biggest, best crossovers we could imagine. Anthony Joshua and Francis Ngannou here in Saudi Arabia in Riyadh season. Radio Rahim with Eddie Hearn.